Okay, this is picky. Oh god. Oh, it's in my hand. I'm gonna throw up. Oh, girl.
Oh, baby, that was a big puke.
The biggest puke I've seen.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a 6-month update for you guys on our daughter's life. So basically filling you in on how she's doing at 6 months, things like baby sleep and how that's going for us, the intro to solids, the milestones that she's currently hitting, how she is as a baby in general, but also things like breastfeeding and postpartum and weight loss after pregnancy and all of these different things that I have not updated you guys on in a really long time. And I haven't not updated you guys on purpose necessarily. I think that time just kept going by and I was like, okay, I feel like doing a 1 month and a 2 month and a 3 month and 4 month update is a little bit too much. And so I'm going to just kind of catch you guys up on how things are going as Jared and I transition into being parents and what life is like right now for us with our 6-month-old. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, then just keep on watching. I actually already filmed probably 30% of this video and had to delete it and redo all of it because she is on the move, and that is something that I will get into in the update on her life. But she is rolling like crazy now, and she wanted me to be holding her and bouncing with her, and she was rolling from one side of the room to the other, and it was just getting a little bit crazy. And so I thought, okay, I just gonna wait until her dad can take her for a little bit, and I'll bring her in so you guys can see her in this video as well at 6 months and what she looks like. But we are going to refilm this all again and hopefully get a little bit further than I did last time. I honestly just can't even believe that she is 6 months old. As much as it feels like time is flying and I can't believe that she's 6 months old, it also feels like that birth vlog was 3 years ago with how much life it feels like we've lived since then, with the just craziness of seeing how much she has changed in that 6 months. It's absolutely insane to think that that birth vlog was us half a year ago. It just doesn't compute in my mind. But all in all, being a parent, being a mom is the best thing that I know my husband would say the same thing that we've ever done. It has been a wild ride and it has been so challenging, but at the same time the biggest blessing. And I feel like both of us are every single day learning what it looks like to love someone else more than we love ourselves, to be less selfish, to look more like Jesus. And so we are loving parenthood overall, but it is crazy. I feel like every single time you kind of get into a rhythm and you figure out your routine and things get a little bit easier, something changes again, and then you're right back at the drawing board with things. But honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world, and we are having so much fun with her. She is the sweetest baby. She is so much fun to be around. Her personality is just so sweet. She is a kind of perfect mix between so loud but also very quiet. She'll look at things and she's very pensive, and she's a very thoughtful child. She laughs, but not often. It's very hard to actually get her to laugh. I feel most of the time she's just looking at things and thinking so deeply about things. And so she is very quiet in that element, but when she is loud, she gets loud. I have never heard a human being make the level of volume that has come out of her mouth, and the way that she just gets so animated and excited about things is just so fun and cool to see. She is also got her own little personality and her own sense of what she wants to be doing, and so it's just been cool to see all of that come out. But I thought that to get started into all of the kind of updates that I want to give you guys, that I would start with sleep, because I feel like sleep is that big one that people often want to talk about when it comes to babies. Is your baby sleeping through the night? How are they sleeping? Are you getting any sleep? And I would say overall, yes, we are sleeping through the night. Vivian, for the first time, slept through the night at 3.5 weeks. I think that was the first time we got a 6-hour stretch from her. And of course, she has not been doing that every single night since then. There's been times where she's gone through developmental leaps, or she's hit a new milestone, and with that oftentimes comes those regressions in sleep. You guys know that we had a really tough 4-month sleep regression when she first learned how to roll, and for about 5 or 6 weeks it was up through the night multiple times. However, she does consistently, when she's not in a leap, sleep through the night. And so if she's just having a regular day. Typically, she will go to bed around 7 p.m. and wake up at 7 a.m. the next day, and we can just expect to get that 12 hours from her. There's a number of things that I think contribute into that whole like baby sleep world, and if you guys want me to make a more dedicated video on that, I can. I feel like it would be hard to fit all of the different things that we've been doing to kind of get that full like 12-hour stretch out of her in this video. But I think the biggest things are that we focus a lot on daytime naps. So one of the things that I learned really early on and try and tell other people that like has worked for us is that like sleep begets sleep with babies. So essentially the more that they like get good naps during the day, I find the better they're actually able to sleep at night. I found that there is like nothing worse for baby sleep than having an overtired baby. So I spent a lot of time in the first little bit trying to figure out what her like best wake windows were for each age that she was at. Right now it depends, like, but I know for a fact that when she wakes up at like 7:30 a.m. that she needs to go back to sleep at like 9, or else she's gonna be like really angry and have a hard time getting that nap in. It's gonna be shorter, it's gonna impact the rest of the day. So that first wake window is like an hour and a half. The next wake window is gonna be 2 hours. And like all of these different things that I like being at home with her right now on mat leave, I have the luxury of figuring those things out a little bit more, which then leads to better nighttime sleep. I know that that's not like a perfect thing for everyone to be able to do, but focusing on naps has been a huge piece of it for us. We typically will start bedtime at like 6:30 and we'll do a bath most nights, sometimes just with water and not with soap if she's had a bath with water in the last couple of days, but we'll do that bath, and then we'll do like sleep sack, sound machine, pajamas, and she'll nurse, and then we'll put her down awake, and she'll usually be asleep within the first like 5 to 15 minutes. We've never done really like cry it out, I would say. I think the most that we've ever gone in like a single stretch of time has been like 20 minutes before one of us has gone back in. Not because we're like against it or think it's like wrong or anything like that, but just because neither one of us could really like handle it. And I have also found that like in the middle of the night, especially if she would wake up, like especially during the leaps and things like that, I found that if I was to just go in and feed her, she would be back down in 5 minutes. I would be happier, she would be happier, we would all get more sleep that way. And so I just kind of fed her during those night wakings until eventually she just slept through and didn't need them anymore. And that is what worked with our family. So I know everyone's different on all of that stuff, but those are the things that I think have worked really well for us when it has come to baby sleep specifically. So the next thing that I'll get into is some of the milestones and developmental things that Vivian is currently doing at 6 months. So she is sitting independently, and she's been doing that since I think 5.5 months. And that was a really big one and a really exciting one for us because I knew that Christmas was coming up and she would hit 6 months like kind of right before Christmas. And I wanted her to be able to sit like independently at her presence. I don't know why, I just wanted like, I thought that would be fun. And so I think that was the motivation for me, like when she was awake during the day, to really be practicing that. And so some of the things that I did starting at like as soon as we could, having like the breastfeeding pillow behind and around her to kind of help her get that trunk support. I would sit obviously and have just my legs around her while she was playing and practice like holding her up and allowing her to get that sitting support. And then I also did practice having her in the bumbo. That is, I think, the one that is approved for hip like health. I will link it down below. I'm not a doctor. I don't know 100% all the details on that. I know there's like a bit of mixed reviews on things like the bumbo, but the one with the tray I found was good in terms of helping her just practice. So I would sometimes give her like a sensory bag or a book and allow her to sit in that bumbo and practice being upright to get her like more ready to sit on her own and to be able to do that before going into an actual high chair. And then the other thing that was really big, I think, for sitting independently was kick play. So we encouraged her to be practicing like grabbing at her toes and bringing them towards her mouth. That is a really big thing for developing the core strength that the baby needs to be able to sit independently. And so we had the rattle socks from LOVEVERY. I think it was in the 3 or 4 month kit, and she loved those. We did a lot of time in those, and I think it was all those things that helped her to start sitting independently. So now she can do that for like 15 to 20 minutes on her own, and she's at a point where I could actually walk away from her and know that she wouldn't just topple over as soon as I leave. I don't go too far ever, obviously, but she is able to do pretty long stretches of time sitting on her own now, which is very exciting. The other big thing that has changed now that she's 6 months is she is rolling around a ton. So gone are the days, as I said, that she would just like be placed in one spot and stay in that one spot. if she is like in any space, is rolling from one side of the room to the other. She's crawling backwards, not forwards yet, but literally is just like all over the place. And so we are having to keep a very close eye on her now because she's getting into everything around her. So I feel like we're now in the stage where we're like looking to baby proof the house a little bit more and working towards that like Montessori approach of having like a yes space where like everything is safe, everything is fair game, and I could actually like look away for a moment and know that you're not going to get into anything dangerous. So we have like hit that territory now, although she's not yet crawling. I have seen her go up on her hands and kind of like, she has gone up on her knees, and I've seen her rock maybe a couple of times, but for the most part, she just goes up on her hands and hasn't quite figured out how to get her like legs up and pushing forward. I mentioned she can crawl backwards and get pretty far, like from one side of the room to the other crawling backwards, but no forward movement yet. And I honestly don't think that she will until probably like, my earliest guess for her crawling would be like 8 months based on what I'm seeing. But again, this is my first baby, so I really have no idea, maybe 9 months. Thing is, you can do all of the things right and practice all of the things, and your baby will not do it until they're ready to do it. And so if you are in a stage where your baby is like hating tummy time or is not rolling from one way to the other, just wait, they'll do it. And even if they don't, like, we all learn how to walk eventually. I feel like another big thing that people usually ask about is whether or not she has any teeth, and no, she is not showing any signs of teeth yet. I feel like there have been so many signs of teething for months now, and I'm hearing that that's just like the first year of baby's life is just constant like drool and seeming like teeth is coming, but like they usually just pop up out of nowhere and you don't even realize a lot of the times that they were teething because they're just always drooling, they're always crying about something. So I would say that that's what we've experienced, even though she hasn't been like consistently fussy. Like there's some days more than others, but she has consistently been drooly. She has consistently been like chewing on things often, and so I don't know when teeth will come. There have not been any like changes as far as I can tell in her gums, so I'm really curious as to when they will come. If you guys have babies, comment down below on when they got their teeth or if they're showing any signs of it yet, because I am really curious on when that will happen. But as of 6 months, we have no sign of teeth yet. Okay, so last thing I'll go into before I go into my breastfeeding update and my update on all things postpartum is the update on solids. So Vivian is doing baby-led weaning. I uploaded a video about this a couple of weeks ago, which I will link up here for you guys to check out, and it has gone really well so far. It has obviously come with its own like challenges and anxieties on my part specifically, and it has been like an interesting transition, but overall Vivian has absolutely loved it. Like her favorite part of the day is the time of the day that she gets to eat food, and she is now like at all meals reaching for the food that we're eating, which she was already doing before, but now that she eats herself, she like every single time she sees food thinks it's for her and is like so excited by it. And so right now at 6 months, she's only doing 1 meal of solids per day, and that is around anywhere between like 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So we'll do something that usually includes like a fat source, an iron source, and a source of vitamin C. An example of that could be like egg strips with spinach in them with avocado and I don't know, like boiled apple halves or something like that. And she will feed herself that entire meal. Sometimes we'll preload a spoon and hand it to her, but she always will take the spoon from us and feed herself with it. That's just how she's been with it. I did try and spoon feed her and do some of the pureed stuff, but she just wasn't interested. She wasn't into it. She always wanted to have more control and be feeding herself. And so we have just followed her lead with that, and it has been tricky for me and challenging for me because I want to be more like managing that moment so that she's being safe, but at the same time I know that like the safest thing for me to do in that scenario is to ensure that I am giving her food that is prepared correctly for her age at 6 months, giving it to her, and then just allowing her to be and like being available to help coach her through chewing, or if she actually, God forbid, chokes, to actually know and be prepared to do infant CPR. But she is doing well with it, and we have not had any big scares other than like the initial gagging, which did definitely lessen up the longer that we did it. She barely gags at all anymore, and you guys, she takes massive bites. She just chews and she swallows and she knows what to do. So baby-led weaning has certainly been a little bit scary, but it is going really well, and we are glad that we made the decision to go that route. And then the other thing that I will say on the intro to solids around 6 months is that it came with a lot of challenges in terms of constipation. So if you guys are watching this kind of wondering what will come at 6 months, I would say one thing to keep in mind is that it is really helpful to have prunes in the house or other things that start with the letter P, like pears, peas, plums. I can't think of other things that start with a P, but pumpkin. Those are the types of foods that help to keep a baby regular when you introduce solids. And we had a really hard couple of weeks with her over Christmas because her body was just like changing and her digestive system was getting used to having the solids, and she was having some real hard poops, and it actually got to the point where there was blood in her diaper, which is so sad, but her body was just having a hard time like processing it all and getting it all out smoothly. So we did introduce prunes, and the thing that worked really well for us wasn't the prunes on their own, but it was this pouch by Baby Gourmet. And I don't know if this is available in America because I think it might be a Canadian brand, but Baby Gourmet sells a pouch that has pumpkin, prune, and pear in it. And those three, for whatever reason, cleared her right out, got her right back and like moving in a normal digestive like process again. So that is what we typically will go and get now if she is dealing with constipation. But I feel like now that it's been a couple more weeks and her body is more used to it, that has not been so much of an issue anymore. So hopefully you guys don't have as much of an issue with constipation as we had. If you guys are interested in doing baby-led weaning, we took a course with Happy Healthy Eaters, which was super helpful for us to know how to serve foods, the types of foods to serve, how to prepare it. And I will link down below a link to that course if you guys want to check it out, as well as a discount code that they were generous enough to offer you guys. So if you want to check that out and are just not sure where to start, then feel free to do that. All right, guys, it is currently the next day. I'm having to film for the first time some footage that I forgot to do yesterday. I realized last night when I was like literally falling asleep that there were huge chunks that I forgot to include in this, with everything just being crazy yesterday. So that is mom brain and why I'm sitting down and doing the rest of it today. But I wanted to do a final update just with breastfeeding and how that's going, as well as a postpartum update, just kind of recapping really quickly where things are at with that, as well as some of the weight loss stuff in that I've gotten a couple questions about. So the first thing is with breastfeeding. So I want to do a whole video kind of dedicated to the breastfeeding journey because I feel like there's way too much that I could include in just this video here, or else this would be so long. But I am still exclusively breastfeeding Vivian, so we've never done formula or anything like that, but there have been many times where we almost have needed to, which would be fine. But for the last like 7 months, we've wanted to try and just keep this up for as long as we could. I guess the long story short on this is that I have always had a lot of issues with supply specifically, and could be many reasons why that is. I actually am not 100% sure. Based on conversations that I've had with like lactation consultant and my doctor, it seems as though for me the prolactin hormone is just low, and so I am actually right now on a prescription that I don't need to take every day, but I can take it when my supply gets to a point where there isn't enough for her to be able to eat anymore. And I can kind of tell when that is happening. One of the key times where it happens is around my period. So my milk supply almost completely 100% is gone when my period comes, and that happens to me every single month. I got my period back at like 6 weeks postpartum, and it was almost as if my body didn't even think that I was breastfeeding. And so with me, every single time that has happened during the month, when it's come back again, my supply goes away. And so I'm on a prescription that actually triggers the prolactin production in me, and I don't want to include too much more on that here because I feel like, again, it would take too long to get into. If you want more information or details on that, please like just message me either in the comment section or on Instagram and I'll share more information on it. But that has been a big like back and forth just struggle for the last 7 months. I again have wanted to keep it up because I think for me, I've never like gotten to the point where I felt really ready to wean from breastfeeding. Vivian is still really interested in it. She does take a bottle and will do that if I have pumped milk, but I am never like able to get much when I pump. I'm only really able to get a letdown when I'm breastfeeding, and it's during those times of the month that my hormones kind of like trigger a period or whatever, and then my supply dries up, and then it's really hard to breastfeed. So I've noticed that that's what it's been connected to, is specifically when my period comes and my body just thinking that I'm no longer breastfeeding or whatever. I don't know at the end of the day, but I'm just grateful that I've been able to find something that has worked for me, because I did try a ton of things to get supply supply up, like literally everything under the sun. I've tried oatmeal, I've tried the mother's milk tea, I've tried the herbal like tinctures that you can take, I have tried hand expression, I've tried watching videos of my baby, I've tried skin to skin, like all of the things that you typically hear recommended to increase supply, but like it doesn't work for me when I get my period. I have to have something that like triggers that production of prolactin, and so it has been a like very back and forth journey. Ultimately, I'm just so happy that I've been able to continue to breastfeed, but in those moments where it's been like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to feed you today, and I've had to go back into the freezer and pull from the frozen breast milk from earlier and all of those things, that it's been very hard. So again, I'm going to do a full video on it because it's so much to just put in just a few minutes here, but that is the update on breastfeeding. I'm still exclusively breastfeeding her. I don't know how long we'll go for. It kind of just depends on how long my body is able to keep it up. It has been hard on my body, but we will know when we are ready. Last thing that I wanted to do in this video is just do a little update on my postpartum experience and my postpartum body and how all of that is going, which is a pretty big update, I feel like, once you hit the 6-month mark. And so that is going well. I would say in terms of like how I'm feeling physically, I'm almost, I would say like 100% back to normal. I feel like the biggest thing that has changed for me is just like the loss of muscle since having a baby. And I think more of that just comes with the lack of like lifting weights like I was before I was pregnant throughout pregnancy, and then postpartum, like I'm doing a little bit of stuff at home, but most of it is just body weight or with bands, and so there's less of that access to like weights and weight training, and so I feel like I have lost a lot of muscle mass, which is something that I want to work on. But I would say like physically otherwise, I do feel like I'm back to normal. I did have ab separation, which has now been healed. I had prolapse, which is now, as far as I know, been healed. It's been a little while since I've gone to my pelvic PT, but that is something that we worked on a lot really early on. And then other things that I struggled with postpartum, like postpartum hair loss, I feel like is really leveling off. And so all of the things that like came with the postpartum period are now almost 100% back to normal, which is a great place to be in. I think the only things that still haven't really changed are obviously some of the permanent changes to my body from having a baby, like the stretch marks, which I will show you guys in a moment, as well as just some of the skin like around my belly specifically being more stretched out. But even so, it doesn't look to me like that different from what it looked like before, just like from a first glance. Like if you were to look at it, you'd probably see more of where like the stretching was and the stretch marks specifically. But all in all, I have been actually like quite surprised with how much my body was able to stretch out like in such a crazy way and then go back to what it was with not as much working out as I thought that I would have done at this point. I have been trying to incorporate exercise into like morning routine, and if not in the morning, then some point in the day, like doing a little bit on the exercise bike or doing a quick ab circuit or doing a couple squats even just to get something in. But like you guys know, if you are moms, it can be really hard to fit that stuff in during the day. And I find that almost always the things that get like kicked out of what happens in my day to day are the things that I do just for myself, like exercise. And that is something that, again, I'm still working on trying to incorporate more of in this year. But I would say that that has been the biggest change, is just like feeling a little bit more weak than I did before I had a baby. And being a mom requires so much like physical strength, like not just with pregnancy and actually carrying the baby, but then obviously giving birth is like a freaking marathon in and of itself. And then when you're a mom, there's so much like bending over and picking up, and you need to be kind of strong and flexible for all those things. So it is definitely something that I need to get back into. In terms of like weight loss specifically for myself, there hasn't really been something that I would say I could pinpoint to how much weight I've actually lost. And I gave a little bit more of like an honest update on what that looked like in my 6 weeks video. So to bring you guys up to speed on where things are at now, I think I was at like 172 and 5'7" at the time that I gave birth. And like within the first couple of weeks postpartum, a lot of that had actually kind of just gone away through the natural like loss of water and all that stuff, postpartum bleeding, but also through breastfeeding. I do actually have a pretty healthy diet on the day-to-day, but that hasn't changed much from like pregnancy to now. And so I think that the biggest thing for me is really just breastfeeding. And I know not everyone has that experience, but I think the breastfeeding element of things, the fact that I'm just like really busy during the day and maybe not like sitting down as often and just like snacking or whatever, that has been how I've lost a lot of the weight that I gained from pregnancy. And so now I'm back down to actually less than I was before I got pregnant. I was, I think, 140 when I got pregnant, and now I'm down to 130. And I think that a huge element of that is also just the loss of muscle mass, because muscle does weigh quite a bit, and I have like almost like slim to none muscle on my body now. So I'm not like happy camping out at 130. I'm actually actively trying to put more weight on, especially with like breastfeeding burning so many calories during the day, just trying to up the amount that I'm eating of like good quality food, but also exercising and doing more of that weight training to get that muscle mass back on. I wanted to give you guys just another like honest update of what things are looking like at 6 months postpartum. The bum is almost like entirely gone from what it was before. I don't know what that is, but for some reason, like I've just lost a lot of muscle mass there. And then with my belly specifically, again, like a lot of it has gone back down to what it was, but there is still like quite a bit of just like stretch marks here. On the whole, I would say that like I have actually been very happy with how I have adjusted to everything postpartum and my new body. I think I was really nervous when I was pregnant about being postpartum and having my body change and things like not looking like they did before, but if anything, I've actually been more proud of my body since I've had a baby, which again, I did talk about in that like 6 weeks postpartum video. I've just been proud of the way that I've been able to like still be strong and be able to do all the things that I need to do during the day. Of course, there's always room to improve and to get stronger, but I think at this point of my life, my goal is to really just be strong, to be able to like be a good mom, to be able to withstand pregnancy again and all of the changes of that. And it's so much less about like the way that I look. I'm just happy with who I am and where things are at now. So I think I did go through a lot of the process of like not mourning, but almost like grieving the body that I had before while I was pregnant, because that was when all of the changes were so drastic and quick, and I wasn't really ready for that process. I thought that it would happen postpartum, but I think I did go through that in pregnancy, and now again I'm just like happy with where I'm at, happy with who I am, and proud of what my body has been able to do. So that is the 6 months postpartum update. What are you doing, Max? That's weird. What is your honest review of the last 6 months of being Vivian's dad?
They've been good. They've been really good. They've been hard, but like it's a lot of growing and a lot of change and a lot of stretching. But she just becomes more and more fun every month. Like I think back to when she was just a newborn, and you love her a lot, but she has like very little personality and very little engagement with the world, and now she's doing all this stuff. And smiling and saying stuff and doing things, and so it's a lot of fun to be around her.
They're still twins. Do you look like your daddy? Yeah. Well, I hope that you guys enjoyed this little 6 month update with just the recap of all the things that have been going on in Vivian's life and in Jared and I's life as new parents. Again, if there is anything that you want me to make a more like detailed video on, I would be happy to do that. Of course, a lot of these topics you can go into so much more detail on, but I also did just want to remind you guys to not compare yourself to anything that I've talked about in this video, whether it is where your baby is at the 6 month mark, or where you are at postpartum, or what your breastfeeding journey has looked like. Everyone's situation is so unique, and even as I'm talking, it's so funny because I'm saying things and I'm like, oh, I wish I was further along in this, or I wish I was this, or whatever, and there could be people on the end of this feeling the same way, but just know that even for myself, there are things that I'm frustrated with and see other people doing. It's just like so useless to compare yourself to other people and what they're doing, because at the end of the day, you are only able to do what works for you and your situation and for your baby, and your journey is going to look different than the next person's. Know that the only person that you can really compare to is yourself, and where things were for you yesterday and whether or not things are actually getting better today. Let's just try and get 1% better every day with wherever we're at, and really that is all that we can really give to ourselves at the end of the day. So just wanted to throw that in there as a little reminder for you guys to go easy on yourselves, like I am trying to do for myself in this whole journey as well. If you guys liked this video today, then I would love for you to actually like it before you head out. And another thing that you can do outside of obviously subscribing and being a part of the YouTube family here is dropping a comment down below. You may not know this, but every single time that you guys do comment, it actually signals to YouTube that people like the video because there's engagement on it. And I've had a lot of messages from moms that have been encouraged by being able to connect with other people through the channel or even just watching the videos themselves. And so it means so much to me every single time that you guys like or comment. But I'm also just grateful that you would be here and watch this and have been along for the journey with us for the last 6 months. So until my next video, I love you guys. I am praying for you guys, and I will see you soon.